So as Ram Govindra Swami Maharaj visits us, he's been with us during the COVID lockdown period as well, and has been in Botswana for a while, and then went to the United States where he met devotees from ISKCON and became a devotee, and his life is dedicated to the preaching of the Sankirtan mission of Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maharaj is also a very astute scholar of the Ramayana, so we're very, very fortunate to have with us such great personalities like His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami and His Holiness Ram Govindra Swami Maharaj. And I want to also introduce to you our leader of the ISKCON Port Elizabeth Center, and that is His Grace Swetadvip Prabhu, who is seated there. He always gives us his wonderful association. Thank you very much for coming to the festival. He's been at the temple, and today he also decided to come through. So,
You can use this one.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chachunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandhamadhavam Sri Chaitanyamishwaram Sri Chaitanyamanobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamcha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Nutam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanitam Cha Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Deshatarini Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna to all wonderful devotees of the Lord. Today it is a wonderful gathering. The beautiful Krishna consciousness as preached by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada says we must relate our activity in relation to Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, last verse, what he says? Mat karma kut mat paramo mat bhakta sangha varjitaha. So Lord says that do as karma, every activity as a karma in relation to Krishna. And this gathering also wonderful. And we glorifying Krishna. And so the best activity, easiest way for getting out of this material existence. The easy process is bhakti. Other process, one has to struggle hard to follow that path to the perfection. But bhakti, one need not to struggle much hard. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, the last verse, Manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyadhyuktevam atmanam matparayana. Simple. Think of me. Manmana. Always think about me. Any activity you are doing, whether we are cooking, we are sweeping, we are working in office, we can think of Krishna. Become devotee. Worship me. Whatever the way it is possible to you, worship. Not that I should have the entire paraphernalia to worship. No. If you got well and good. If you don't have the facility, then worship the Lord mentally. Sing song mentally. Or you can sing loudly also. Namaskar, pay obeisances to me. Does any of these activity cost money? Nothing. But when you do, Krishna promises that you will come to me. Means devotee just following these 4 principles which Srila Prabhupada stressed on this, and one can go back to spiritual world from where we all have come. Golokam eva nivsatya akilatma bhut. All of us, we belong to the Golok Vrindavan. As Brahma says in Brahma Samhita. So the bhakti is the easiest process to achieve the goal of human form of the life. Not only we glorify, all the demigods, including Lord Brahma, also glorify the bhakti. If the other than the bhakti, other process, Ashtanga yoga, Karma yoga, Jnana yoga, if they are better than the bhakti, somewhere some demigod should have glorified it. But it is not. Lord Brahma in Bhagavatam, couple of places comes up. Brahma says that Enyera vindacha vimuktamaninas tvayashta bhava avishuddha buddhaye aruya kurchena param padam tatah padantyana dhruta vishmadangrihi. Said, my Lord, while offering praise to Krishna in the womb of Mother Devaki, Lord Brahma says, my Lord, all those, the sages and the great personalities who have performed all the different various methods for the self-realization, even if they got the parampadam, even got the delivered Saivya Mukti, Kaivalya, merging into the effulgence of the Lord. My Lord, all of them, I saw that falling, patanti, they fall down. Why? They did all other process, but they ignored the serving your lotus feet. Serving the lotus feet is bhakti, which Srila Prabhupada given service. So bhakti is the safest position for any living entity. Other than the bhakti, we take up any other position, then the risk of falling down again, because all other process gradually it make us subject to false ego. The bhakti, they know false ego because always we are serving under guidance of spiritual master. So a devotee who is properly situated in the bhakti marga line, he will not fall down. And the easiest and best method for the realization of that absolute truth. Sreya srutim bhaktir mudasyate vibho klishyanti ye kevala bodha labhyate tesham asau klevala ev klesha shishyate nanyadhyatha sthula tushavaghati-nam. Brahma says, Sreya srutim bhakti. My Lord, all the scriptures says, Shruti, that the bhakti is the best among all others. We are stressing on bhakti. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada has given us this wonderful bhakti, transcendental activity. Prabhupada always stressed remembering Krishna, huh? Doing activity also. I am working as a clerk in office. Yes, my hands are working, but the mental I can think it. So, that's why we are strengthening on the glories of the bhakti, and it is glorious. All the scriptures says it. Sreya Srutim Bhakti Mudasyate Vibho. Vibho means Supreme Lord. Oh my Lord, the bhakti is the Sreya, best of all the best. Where if ignoring the bhakti, one take up to the Jnana Yoga, studying the Vedas, scriptures, for the self-realization of that absolute truth, they will only get distress in their life, that nothing else. Kleshala. Okay? Why? Because the pursuing the Jnana Yoga is nothing but a beating the husk to get the grains. You might have seen, we get the rice, everybody see it. Okay? Before the rice, its form is called paddy. We send to the mills, they take out the outer skin, husk, then what we get the grain that inside is the rice. So taking the husk, you beat whole day, and you can't get any grain. Teshamaso. So therefore, Lord Brahma says that Jnana Yoga or any other yoga, ignoring the bhakti is just like a beating the husk. Whereas the bhakti yoga, it is the grain. It gives the proper result, and in the next of instruction also Prabhupada writes that it is a continuous process. Once we take up to the bhakti yoga, there is no problem. Life after life, we will continue till we go back to Krishna, 100%. It is the best process for the realization of the absolute truth, easiest process. Ignoring this easiest process, no, I want to study scriptures to understand the absolute truth. Absolute truth, Supreme Lord Krishna, infinite, Ananta. How can we understand that infinite Ananta Supreme Lord with a limited mind? No one can say, I know Lord. Nobody can say it. Because our senses are limited. We are subject to the limitations of the material world. Anything in the material world is the limit, limited by the time. Our senses are the limitations, and the Lord is the unlimited, infinite. So with these limited senses, material senses, we cannot understand the transcendental truth about the Lord. But we can understand little bit when we please the Lord. Suppose I want to know something about Smita Krishna Prabhu. Unless Smita Krishna Prabhu revealed me about himself, what his name of the village and where he took birth, what the parents' name, what he studied, I won't be knowing. Do you agree? So he must reveal to me, then I know. In the same way, if the Lord is willing to reveal himself to us, then we will know. So how Lord will be accepting to reveal himself to the devotees? By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. By chanting the glorification all the time his name. Oh sir, he is always calling me. He is calling me again and again. Let me attend his call. And one day he will attend the call. And he will reveal us. The more we chant, more we get purified. And the Lord is not very far away. He is very near to us. And we can see the presence, feel the presence of the Lord. We can get the mercy of the Lord by continuous chanting and relating every activity of us in relation to Krishna. And he just masses. By that, we get the blessings of the Lord. And any activity in the spiritual activity, we also need the blessings of the Vaishnavas and most importantly, spiritual master. You read the nectar of devotion, the very purposeful stresses on this point. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate His Holiness Ram Govinda Swami Maharaj. Haribol!
Haribol.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for establishing bhakti as the process and the way to attain it through chanting the holy name, by which Krishna will reveal himself to us all. So we would like to ask His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj to now address us as well.
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nira Vishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatyadeshatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchikapatrubhyas cha kripa sindubhya evacha, Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. You know, sitting in a tent like this, you know what it reminds me of, or who? His Holiness Parthasarathi Maharaj, who I believe is coming. Oh, yes. Well, it's really nice to be here with you all. I haven't been in a gathering like this for more than 2 years. Yeah, it's great. And thank you for wearing your masks. You know, I don't know if you heard the story that Yamaraj, you know, the Lord Yamaraj, the Lord of death, who takes the people, confused people who don't know what to do, and puts them through all sorts of difficulties. So he told his Yamadutas, I don't know, did you hear? He told them, go to this place, Parkrynie, and just look for some candidates that you can take back to me, and I'll give them what? I'll give them what happened. Yeah. So, but you can only take those who you recognize. If you can't recognize someone, you can't take them. So they came down. But then after a while they returned to Yamaraj, and they said, you know, we were hoping to get a whole lot because there was a lot of people, but we couldn't we took some, but most of them we couldn't recognize because they had masks on. But the ones without the masks we recognized, so we brought them. Yeah. So thank you, because, you know, I had COVID not long ago, mixed with pneumonia. It's a bit of a long story, but I advise you not to get COVID. It's not much fun. Sure. Anyway, here we are at Parkrynie, and it's a really nice place. I've been here so many times. I haven't been actually for this program, though, before. I didn't realize what a great program it is. It's fantastic. And you can hear the surf out there. You know, I used to be a surfer, would you believe? I'm not joking either. I stopped working just to go surfing for a while, for about a year or so. And it just made me think, when I heard the surf out there, that Srila Prabhupada once, he was in Hawaii, and there they have, so many beaches and a lot of surfing and all that. So Prabhupada was on a morning walk on a beach. Often wherever he was, he'd go for a morning walk, and if there was a beach, he'd often go walking on the beach. So this morning, that morning in Hawaii, he was walking on a beach, and there were some young people surfing out in the sea. And Srila Prabhupada asked the devotee who was with him, Prabhupada asked, who are these? What are these people? Who are they? And the devotee said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, they are surfers. And Prabhupada said, what? Sea sufferers? And the devotee said, no, Prabhupada, no, they are surfers, Srila Prabhupada, they're surfers. And Prabhupada said, oh, I see, sea sufferers. And having done it really a lot, I can tell you it's true. So don't get COVID and don't become a surfer. It's not worth the trouble. But it's great to be here with you all. It's the biggest gathering I've been in for 2.5 years, basically. And, it's been nice. We've been doing programs all the time. We did Bhakti Shastri, and we did all sorts of things, actually, online. But getting together personally, face-to-face with the devotees, we couldn't really do, not much at least, and certainly not on this scale. And it reminded me of a verse in the conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur, Ramananda Roy, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 8. It's a long chapter, and it's a whole discussion between Lord Chaitanya and Ramananda Roy. And it's kind of unusual and very striking for a number of reasons, but one reason is that, normally Lord Chaitanya, or like Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is questioning Lord Krishna about this and that, and Krishna is answering. And in the Bhagavatam, different people are questioning and other devotees are answering. And the Lord is answering in many cases. But in this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila chapter 8, Lord Chaitanya is asking the questions. And Ramananda Roy is answering. And it's, that's surprising, isn't it? Unexpected. And, it's a long story, it's a long chapter. But it's at some point, Lord Chaitanya is asking something like high-level question about the relationship between Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna. And Ramananda Roy says, my Lord, I don't know about these things. But Lord Chaitanya appeals, please, come on. And so Ramananda Roy says, well, if you will make me speak, if you will empower me, if you will act through me, all right, then I'll speak. So there's one place that's very interesting. It's very interesting where Lord Chaitanya asks Ramananda Roy, what is the most distressing, painful what is it? And Ramananda Roy responds, except for separation from the devotees, I know of no painful thing. How's that? What do you think of that? Except for separation from the devotees, I don't know of any painful thing. And it reminds us of Prahlad Maharaj with his father. And he killed him. And Prahlad was protected by the Lord. And even Hiranyakashipu would do horrible things. But Prahlad didn't get hurt. Hiranyakashipu had him thrown off a cliff and, just down to get, smashed on the rocks at the bottom. But the Lord caught Prahlad and just placed him gently on the ground. And Hiranyakashipu thought, he's finished now. But after some minutes, Prahlad came climbing up the cliff and told Hiranyakashipu that I really like that flying game. Yes. Can we do that flying game again? He was so protected by the Lord that even though there was so much danger, just one thing after another his father was doing, but he was so protected that it seemed like fun. Of course, we're not on the level of Prahlad Maharaj, but still, the principle's there that if we really try our best in devotional service, as Maharaj was saying, he was emphasizing bhakti, devotional service, serving Lord Krishna. That's what the Lord, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna mentions numerous processes like Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and different types of sacrifice and meditation and this and that. But in the end, the Lord makes it clear. Actually, the Lord tells Arjuna, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Just abandon all these other processes. Not that they're necessarily wrong, but they're just not on the same level as bhakti. Mamekam sharanam vraja. Just surrender to me only. Oh, look, a sadhu. Wow. His Holiness Parthasarathi Maharaj Ki Jai. Wow. Did you feel the whole atmosphere just changed? Oh, yeah. Really, really nice. Excuse me. You remember what I said about a tent? It reminds me. And Krishna sent. Krishna knew. And he sent. What is a tent without Parthasarathi Maharaj? Wow, great. Well, yes, okay, where were we? Oh, yeah. Bhakti, and Krishna says, give up, parichaja, sarvadhamam parichaja. Prabhupada translates parichaja as abandon. Not just like put it aside and do something else or something like that, but abandon. Abandon ship. Just jump, get out. When the ship comes to the wharf, everybody goes down the steps and gets off, but just jump off and just get out. So Krishna says like that. Not that necessarily the other processes are wrong or bad, but they're just not on the same level as bhakti, as devotional service. So, yeah. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya is there with Ramananda Roy, and he asks Ramananda Roy, what's the most painful thing? And Ramananda Roy says, except for separation from the devotee, I don't know of any painful thing. So, and then we mentioned how Prahlad was protected by Lord Nrsimhadev, by Lord Krishna from the attacks of his father Hiranyakashipu. And we're not on the same level as Prahlad. But if we really try our best to serve, then Krishna knows. Krishna knows us already. You can't really hide from Krishna and think, I will trick him into thinking I'm this, but actually I'm like that. He'll see. He sees. He knows us better than we know ourselves. So yes, we will be protected, we will be helped by Krishna if we try our best. One person's best is something, and another person's best may be a lot more, or even a lot less. But Krishna, he's not really looking for, quantity is okay, but particularly quality, Krishna's looking for. There's the story of Hanuman and, is it the spider? Or something like that, Hanuman and the spider. They're building the bridge to Lanka, and they're getting all these big boulders and even mountain peaks and throwing them in the sea, and they're floating. And it's a big job. So many rocks and running up and down and throwing, and the spider was a devotee. And the spider saw this is all going on. All the service is going on. And the spider thought, yes, I want to serve. But he's just a little spider. But he started getting grains of sand, and in his little spider way running up and down and throwing little grains of sand and then up for another one. And in the middle of all these big monkeys and some bears, and Hanuman was there. And sometimes Hanuman would almost tread on the spider. And he had to kind of dodge out of the way, and it was inconvenient for Hanuman. And Hanuman got a little frustrated with the spider. So Hanuman told the spider that, listen, I know you want to help, but if you really want to help in the best way, stop trying to help and just get out of the way so we can do the real service around here. And Lord Ram heard that, and he came and he chastised Hanuman that I appreciate the service of this spider as much as I appreciate your service. Yeah, because according to his capacity, he is just doing his best, as you are, according to your capacity. So, you know, in principle, that's an extremely important point. Uh-oh. We're sort of losing ourselves here.
Probably the battery in that much.
Haribol. Oh. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Turn it up a bit. Turn it up a bit. We're in a tent. And Parthasarathi Maharaj is here. Everyone, put your hands in the air. Everyone take a deep breath. All the boy lighties, girl lighties, and everyone, take a deep breath. And after me, shout very loud, Hare Krishna! Did you hear that? He didn't hear that. Louder, louder. Again, come on. Hare Krishna! So without further ado, let me hand over to the incarnation of of preaching in South Africa. Let's be, yeah. Yes, okay. His Holiness Parthasarathi Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasani Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. I will just speak very briefly. In the presence of exalted Vaishnavas, it is very impertinent to speak. But if they instruct me to speak, I will speak. So the impertinent speaker will speak. Today is Vakishvara Pandit's disappearance day. So just some context. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, then he did so with his associates and hundreds. And they are listed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela chapter 10, 11. Krishna is never alone, he's always with his devotees. So, Vakishvara Pandit, according to memory is going. Gauraganada's Tipikava and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's very not known so much, Gauragana Sarup Tattva Chandrika, mouthful. Vakishvara Pandit, Tangavidya is a gopi, and she entered into him, as did Aniruddha. Aniruddha, of course, is God. Pradyumna Aniruddha. Vakishvara Pandit used to serve Lord Chaitanya by dancing, also by singing, but in particular he is known in the Chaitanya Charitamrita for his wonderful dancing. And on one occasion he danced for 72 hours. So this is inhuman. This is not possible for a human being. 72 hours he danced. And Lord Chaitanya, and then he said, Vakishvara, he said, my dear Lord Chaitanya, please give me 10,000 Gandharvas who will sing, and then I will dance to their singing. Gandharvas are from the higher planets, and they're very expert at singing. And then Lord Chaitanya said, Vakishvara, I have one wing. If I had two like you, or if I had two, I could fly. So the point is, Lord Chaitanya appreciated his dancing. So one can dance for the Supreme Lord. 64 different types of bhakti, 64 angas. And the most prominent and important anga, what is that? Anyone tell me? Someone? Chanting. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said this chanting of Hare Krishna, it includes all the other 64, although they may not be evident. Examples of other 64 may be deity worship, smaranam, remembrance. Maharaj is talking about Prahlad. So Prahlad's, he traced on smaranam, remembrance, when he was attacked by his father. Circumambulation of deity, accepting flower garland, worshipping Tulsi. But of all 64, there are 9, and then those 9, there are 5, and then the 5, there are 3, hearing, chanting, and remembering. And then there is the 1, chanting. So I encourage you to chant Krishna's holy name, and then all benediction will be there. This is very nice. On the beach, this reminds us of Jagannath Puri. How many of you have been to Jagannath Puri? A few. You should try to go, really. Lord Chaitanya spent 18 years living in Jagannath Puri. it's Jagannath Puri. It's sort of like Durban to Joburg is Jagannath Puri to Calcutta. And you know, in the holiday time, all the Johannesburg people come down and invade the beaches. So you see that Christmas time, they all come down from Calcutta. They're on the beaches in Jagannath Puri. Quite a lot of them are eating sardine pakoras. But Lord Chaitanya even saved the fishermen. So the fishermen got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Of course, that doesn't mean we should go and eat sardines, but still, Lord Chaitanya saved a fisherman. Anchilila chapter 18, the Lord rescued at sea. So hearing the sound of the waves, and you can perhaps smell the salt, this can remind us of Jagannath Puri, where Lord Chaitanya lived for 18 years. And this is where Vakishvara also lived. Vakishvara Pandit's disciple was Gopal Guru. Gopal Guru's disciple was Dhyana Chandra. So Puri, a very special place. Prabhupada also went there. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj went there a number of times. And Ram Govinda Maharaj went there. So I recommend all of you to go there. If not by body, by mind. And follow in the footsteps of these acharyas, these Vaishnavas. So, thank you very much. Vakishvara Pandit ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gau Premanandi. Maybe we could ask Bhakti Chaitanya, let's say something about Vakishvara. Aniruddha and Tangavidya, two entered into him.
Haribol. Well, as Maharaj said, Vakreshwara Pandit was a great dancer, and he danced for 72 hours. And he would have danced longer, except the kirtan players after 72 hours. They just couldn't really manage anymore. Otherwise he would have carried on. And when he danced, I can't give you a demonstration. I could give you a demonstration of what it was not like. It was not like, sort of left, right, left, right.
But Maharaj, we have Haribol Maharaj there.
Dhanraj Ji.
Who loves to dance.
Okay. Yeah. That's nice. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And so Vakreshwara Pandit, when he would dance, it would be like flying, practically like flying. And he's Tunga Vidya, and Tunga Vidya is one of the Astasakis, the 8 main girlfriends of Srimati Radharani. And Tunga Vidya, her specialty is different mystical activities, all different types of magic and things of that sort. She's expert in that. She's a partial manifestation of Srimati Radharani, and she's a manifestation of that part of Radharani. Radharani is the supreme mystic. And there's, if you go to Vrindavan, if you go to Varshana, just a couple of, maybe 3 kilometers or 4 from Varshana, on the southern side is a village called Davaro. Davaro means eyes full of tears. And that is the village of Tungavidya. And there in that village, there's this beautiful little temple of Tungavidya raised up above the surrounding area a little bit. And it's so nice. So yes, Tungavidya is very magical, mystical, transcendental personality. And all of that magical, mystical potency went into Vikreshwara Pandit. Not just went in, but was in. And it manifested in his dancing. Yes. So yeah, the villages around there, they're the villages of the Astasakis. And they're really amazing. That particular village, Davaro, eyes full of tears, that Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna were looking at each other one time, and they just became overpowered by each other's transcendental association, and their eyes just filled with tears. Or Anjanoka, the village of Indulekha, Anjanoka, Anjan, Kajal, they call it nowadays, but traditionally it's Anjan, the black cosmetic around people's eyes, particularly ladies' eyes and children sometimes. Anjanoka. And one time Radharani was being decorated to meet with Krishna. And she'd had everything was put on. She was just ready. Except only one of her eyes had Anjan on it, or Kajal. And the other one was still sort of bare. And who should appear on the scene but Krishna? And he saw her, and he said, Niranjan, Niranjan, Niranjan. There's no Anjan on your eye. And that's where, there's a sort of Sanskrit technical translation of the name Niranjan, but that's the kind of more subtle understanding of the name Niranjan. And so Krishna rubbed his finger on one rock there, and some Anjan came on his finger, and he put it around Radharani's eye, and then both her eyes had Anjan. So that village is Anjanoka. And you can go there and see it. And these villages are named after these things, these pastimes. Still 5,000 years later, they're known by the same names, at least in many cases. So we're really happy to be here in the association of Ram Govinda Maharaj, in the association of Parthasarathi Maharaj. I don't think we did a tent campaign, did you, in Parkrynie? No, Amzinto. I remember going to Amzinto tent campaign a number of times. and what's it called? Sazella. And I remember going for the tent campaign there, and they did the drama Lust, Anger and Greed, and Yashoda Vatsala was anger, and he came through the crowd. If you can imagine, he came pushing through the crowd. They're sitting on their wooden chairs from Mrs. Bobby, and he came pushing through and grabbed a few children and threw them into the air. Fortunately, their mothers caught them. But anyway, what a service. What an empowered service Pathasarati Maharaj has done. He certainly, Jai, Prabhupada's mercy, Vakreshvara Pandit's mercy, Tunga Vidya's mercy. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. So let us give a wonderful round of appreciation for all our spiritual masters. Haribo! And we want to thank them for their kind presence here this evening. Are there any questions from the audience? Charikanda has one.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much to all of you wonderful saints for giving us so much of spiritual wisdom this evening. Parthasarathi Maharaj spoke so wonderfully about, the different angas of devotion, and the most important being that of chanting. But when it comes to chanting the holy name, sometimes it is so easy to get swayed or drifted by the taunts of the mind, of the unbridled mind. So I was wondering, how do we bring back this mind in the process of the chanting? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The same question is answered in Nectar of Instruction. Prabhupada giving the example of jaundice disease. For the people who are affected with the jaundice, when eat the sweet, it looks bitter, is it? But the medicine for the jaundice disease is the sweet only. When you get admitted to the hospital, though they inject you the glucose, which is sweet. You don't like to eat with the mouth, so the doctor forces you to through the nurse. In the same way, if you mind goes here and there, or we don't like chanting, the medicine for that one is chant again and again. Intense chanting, whether mind likes it or we like it or not, keep on chanting. And that will one day, as we chant, senses get purified, and one day by the mercy of Vaishnava, spiritual master and Krishna, we get taste for chanting. The nature of the mind is to move here and there. You can't stop. But how far it goes, go. But you can go to only Krishna, not beyond that. But if you try to control the mind, we get caught in that. Always thinking, I want to So let it go. But tell that, Srila Prabhupada said, do the attention chanting. Means, mind you want to go, but I want to hear when I am chanting. I am chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. I want to hear it. Let the mind go anywhere. So after some time, mind will come back automatically. So intensive and repeated chanting is the only medicine for that one. And being attentive while chanting is to help us. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Well, there is just a little excerpt from a morning walk of Srila Prabhupada's, It's really amazing. And a devotee asks that very question. My mind, I try to chant, but my mind, what to do about the mind? And Prabhupada gives kind of extraordinary answer, but you can see this is his answer. He says, what is the question of mind? You chant and you hear the chanting. What is the question of mind? Just chant and hear the chanting. So you can tell your mind, if or when it happens, tell your mind, listen, you can go on a holiday. You've been working so hard. Take a break. Go to the beach and relax. And I'll just chant. Something like that.
Thank you, Raj. Raj, would you like? Is there anybody else who has a question? Svetadvi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Is to Partha Maharaj. Yes, I got the golden opportunity. First of all, when I came also to this tent, it reminded me very much, as Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj was saying, about tent campaign. So I was very blessed to stay with Maharaj 6 months in 87, 88. And yesterday I was speaking to a devotee that he must take me to these places where we set up the tent. And then we had this 2 weeks program in each places. So that was tapasya. Maharaj had only a few devotees with him, and he did such a big preaching in South Africa for years and years. I stayed only 6 months with him. There was Daya, the driver. There was Terry, and not even initiated devotees from the temple. But Maharaj went on and on. It was very, very heavy tapasya life. But many devotees came out from this tent campaign, and the South African country blossomed with beautiful devotees who took initiation and continued the service. All glories to Parthasarathi Maharaj ki.
I could tell you a little story. Listen to this. It's a good one. There was a young boy, he was like 10 or 12 years old, on the tent campaign. His name was Roshan. And one night, Partha Maharaj was living on a bus. Do you remember that? Those of you who have been around long enough, you'd remember the bus. And one night, some drunk fellow came onto the bus, like at the front, where the entranceway is. And Partha Maharaj was at the back. He had his quarters at the back. So this drunk got on, and he wouldn't go. And Roshan was trying to get rid of him, but he couldn't. So he came to Parthasarathi Maharaj and said, "No, this is the thing." And Partha, what to do? And Partha Maharaj said, "Tell him to go away." So Roshan went to the man and said, "Go away! Go away! Go away!" Yeah. But the man wouldn't go away. He just stood there looking drunk and bewildered. So Roshan went back and asked, Roshan was being a bit aggressive. "Go away! Go away!" And Roshan came back and said, "He won't go away." And Maharaj said to Roshan, tell him to go away nicely. So Roshan went out and said to the man, "Go away nicely." I'll never forget that story. There should be a book written about the tent campaign. So, questions further? Comments? Parthasarathi Maharaj wants to answer a question. Oh, yes.
Hare Krishna. I'm just wondering, Maharaj, for those of us who have big imaginations, on the one hand, hearing about the topics of Tunga Vidya and the gopis is such a highly transcendental topic that we should be very cautious in our approach of such a topic. But on the other hand, we might find that we can meditate on what we hear about them, like how they adorn themselves, their different qualities and the places that they lived. So to what extent should we allow our mind to kind of meditate on that without being offensive?
That's a nice, simple question. We'll ask Maharaj to answer.
My answer is we will ask Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. It's way out of my league. I'm way down here. And these Maharajas are way up there. So I will hand the mic back and mic them to talk.
You have to repeat the question.
For those of us who have big imaginations, on the one hand, we might find ourselves inclined to meditate on highly transcendental topics, like when we hear about the gopis, how they adorn themselves and their different qualities and where they live. But on the other hand, it's such a we should be very careful in our approach of these very highly transcendental subject matters. So to what extent should we allow our minds to meditate on these various aspects without becoming offensive?
Meditating on what? Gopis activity, which time? When you are chanting or what?
Well, just like, for example, how we were hearing now about Tunga Vidya and where she lives and her different services.
Said Hare Krishna. The Lord's activity is transcendental. Okay. So whether qualified or unqualified doesn't matter it. We are chanting, that will help us to purification. Lord's any activity is transcendental. It never gives the negative result unless we desire it. When you are memorizing or just visualizing or memorizing or remembering the Lord's activities, unless you have some other material way of understanding, and for that purpose, if you don't have that one, only we want the mercy of the Lord, it will not give the negative result. Yeah. So only Srila Prabhupada cautioned us, and Srila Prabhupada said, I am not qualified. That activities of Krishna in relation to gopis, there we have to be cautious. But to understand those activities of Krishna in relation to gopis, we need little advance in the spiritual life. Prabhupada never spoke on the rasa, anything. So there one has to be cautious, because that one can understand when you reach certain stage of raga bhakti. Before that, we are not in that level, so we cannot, other Govardhan Lila, we can always think of Krishna, always so many activities. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what is it? In Harinam Chintamani, he says that, and Krishna Samhita especially mentioned that we must recite the Krishna's Vraja pastimes again and again. The Vraja pastimes, what Krishna killed so many demons, each demon represents one of anartha in us. One is that one we have to understand, hear the story, pastimes of the Lord, then the tattva behind it. So in the Krishna Samhita, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, killing of Putana, what does it mean? Killing of Trunartha, what is? So Krishna's Raja pastimes we can remember all the time, any time, whether qualified, unqualified, doesn't matter it. We are qualified to chant by the mercy of spiritual master, okay? And that qualification enough to chant and remember the Krishna. That will help us. But mostly people like to go to the gopis, rasa dance, that is. So that for that, contemplating on the activities of gopis with Krishna, rasa dance, we need certain, we have to move cautiously, okay? Unless we elevate ourselves certain level, it is not proper. We can misunderstand, just like cinema people take the pastimes in a different way, showing as if Krishna was a young man, gopis were young men. Not at all. Krishna started pastimes with the gopis when he was only age of 6. When he was 10 years, 8 months, he left Vrindavan, went to Mathura. He killed, after that, killing Kamsa, he never come back to Vrindavan for decades, almost 100 years. So a boy playing with 10 years, what is that? So without understanding people, many devotees also, they are interested, more interested in the gopi, the rasa dance than the other activities. So ignoring that one, remaining all other activities, we can always remember, it will help us for the purification. But when you are chanting, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if I am not wrong, chapter 4, Harinam Chintaman says that when you are chanting, we must remember attentive chanting. Just now Maharaj also says, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj says that we must hear it. So we must, that is enough. Hope this meets your answer, question answer.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gangamata, for the question. We'll take one last one. If anybody has, how about a question from that side? All right. So we want to thank our spiritual masters for presenting these gems from our scriptures and the advice about taking seriously to the chanting of the holy name. We do have a short drama of about 12 minutes that's to be presented, and we're going to have to adapt it to this area. So if it's okay with our Maharajas, we'll set your chairs on that side. Nitesh?